What are we working on today? What's up, guys? You know who it is already. Midwest Tour here back again. Well, we are working on my 2005 XC90 Volvo. I thought when I had sold all my Volvos that I would never find myself working under the hood or on one in general, but that is not the case. Decided that I had not had enough of Volvo's electrical issues and turbo issues and all of that, so I decided to reinvest in the misery and get myself another one. So this one here is, like I said, is an '05, but it's unlike its predecessors that I've owned, it is a 6-cylinder turbo, whereas in the past I think I've always owned 5 cylinders. Well, I wouldn't say always owned 5 cylinders. I had an 8-cylinder, a 5-cylinder, and now this is a 6-cylinder. So what we've done, we had to rewire all of the coil packs for the simple reasoning is that the wiring leading to the coil packs were exposed. So all of the outer casing was gone off the wires, and so there was metal exposed or copper wire exposed, and it was touching off the head or the valve cover. So I had to pull all those off and rewire them, and that was the first part of it. Second thing that I had to do was change out some of the connectors leading to the coil packs, because some of them could not be salvaged or rewired. So I simply went to my local junkyard, pulled a bunch of wiring harnesses off a few trucks, and then brought them home, did the testing to make sure, did a bench test on them to make sure that they were usable, and began the process. The next thing we did, once we got the wiring done, we replaced some of the coil packs, not all of them, but some of them were sketchy. And on the other ones, I did do a bench test on those to make sure they were correct, or they were operating correctly. We've also changed the fuel injectors on a few of these. These are all the leads going to the fuel injectors. And what I'm going to be doing today is replacing the O-ring that leads up to the fuel rail, because on this cylinder number 6 here, the fuel injector is leaking, and I've already replaced the lower, I'll show you guys, the lower O-ring. This is just a HMBR, I think it is. I've already replaced, let's see here, I replaced this one here, and now I'm going to go back and replace the top one. Now the bottom ones, I'm an old seal designer, so I spent 11 years designing seals for aircraft, for aerospace and defense applications. So if anybody's been in rubber or understand plastics and rubber, for rubber, anytime you introduce a force, you introduce heat, certain media, and temperature, you will call a rubber component will take a compression set or a set. Essentially, the compression of the O-ring combined with the heat, in this case, caused the O-ring to form to the mating surface. So the cylinder or the housing for which this slides into will form the O-ring, and that's good for sealing. But over time, what happens is, because of that heat, the O-ring will lose its elasticity, and therefore it will not have any rebound. So what happened in this case here is, when I went to remove the fuel rail to fix the lower lower O-ring, it broke its mechanical bond that it had with the mating surface. So while I had lost the elasticity, I still had the mechanical bond because of compression and a little bit of heat. The material flowed into the surface of the metal, and therefore created a bond. So once you remove it, you've lost everything now for sealing, and you have to replace it. So I had replaced all the lower O-rings, and now I have to replace the upper. Now if you look at there, you can see the lower O-ring looks more rectangular or like a square ring, whereas the upper looks more bulbous. Now some of them are more torus rather. Now some of these look fine, and I'm only having a leak on number 6. but I'm gonna do the right thing. Just go ahead and replace all 6 O-rings, and that should alleviate my issue. And I've got new O-rings here from Beck Arnley, and I've purchased these through O'Reilly Auto Parts. I don't always get a chance to use these 10mm Essentials kit, but this one here, this is one I picked up from, what is it? This is Duralast, so this is an AutoZone exclusive one here. Pretty convenient having both 3/8 and 1/4 inch drive on the rail. And then I can just in turn combine this with a simple impact gun. And I'm doing this all with one hand, unfortunately, because I don't have a tripod yet. I need to get one of those. There we go. But this is a perfect combination. This 1/4 inch drive impact gun, the fuel Milwaukee. This is the 25-52-20. Works really well. Now, one thing I don't know is if it's necessary to depressurize the fuel rail. I've noticed sometimes it seems like I'm spraying out a ton of fluid, and other times I don't. So got all that unloosened. There's this little screw here that I got to take off, and this has the fuel line end, the fuel line end to the fuel rail. Need to go ahead and remove that. For that, I've got to go over here to the main box and grab a tool. Get my snap on here. Probably gonna go ahead and grab another 1/4 inch drive. So I was doing some math. I'm looking at changing insurance companies for my home and property and all of that. And so I was looking at what I had in terms of tools, and I did a calculation. At this point in the video, can anyone tell me how much you think I have in ratchets? So what I'm saying is, if I had to go out and buy these ratchets brand new, what do you think I would have to spend in order to get what I've got? So I'll show you real quick. This is trying to make the video kind of fun. So here's all of our ratchets. Okay, so you can see these are all 3/8 drives. These are all 1/2 inch drives over here, and there's ratchets on top of ratchets. And you have all the F80s, FL80s, FHL, F80s, and all that kind of stuff, right? So you can see what I've got there. And you can see the 1/4 inch drives, and there's 2 1/4 inch drive ratchets in here. There's a flex head there, and then a standard there. And then the one I have in my hand, there's all 3/8 drives up there, and these are all pretty much 1/4 drives there. And then if I come over to my work center, I've got the big 1/2 inch drives, the 3 1/2 inch drives, and I have another F80 and some smaller ratchets there. What do you guys think I would have to spend in order to get all those ratchets, or buy all of them brand new? Leave it in the comment section. Maybe I'll give a gift to the person who comes the closest to, I've already calculated. I went through every ratchet, wrote down every part number, and I've already know the exact number down to the penny. So if you can guess what I would have to spend and be within $500 of the actual price, I will send you a gift from my channel. Okay, so we've got that off, Then it's a matter of just simply prying the fuel rail out. And we're gonna lose a little bit of fuel. That's what happens. Okay. And I'm gonna take this outside. I'm gonna dump it on my fire pit, which is not burning at the moment. But I'm gonna take it out here and then just put it on there. Makes my heart hurt every time I have to do this. Number one, I hate pulling the O-rings in and out of the housing. Granted, the vehicle's not been running, so I'm not like, I've not introduced heat or anything like that. The only thing I've introduced to the O-ring is compression. And rubbers will what they call cold flow. So even without heat, the material will cold flow into the surface, which means it'll basically adjust or adapt to however much force is being applied to the O-ring. It will adapt or adjust to that mating surface form. Trying to see if I've got, this is gonna be a long video, but it's something different. Like I work on my own stuff and I'm not really 100% confident enough to share it on YouTube, because I don't, you get all the armchair mechanics and all that kind of stuff, and sometimes that's great and other times it's like, just shut up. Just being honest, everybody's got an opinion these days, right? Self included. All right, so now that we have the rail out, what we're going to end up doing is I have to remove the 4 bolts here. There's 2 on this side, 1, 2, 3, 4. Remove those bolts or screws. Remove this plate which captures the injector into the rail, and then I need to remove all of the injectors and start replacing O-rings. So let me go ahead and start removing all of the hardware, and then we'll work on the injectors. Okay, so we've got all of the O-rings installed on the fuel injectors, both top and bottom. Use a simple pick to remove the old O-ring off. The old O-rings have taken a compression set, as we talked about, but they're also cracked. So if you can't see it really on camera, but if you put them under any stress, you can kind of see the cracks in the O-ring diameter, cross section, I guess would be called. And so we're going to go ahead and install these injectors back into the fuel rail, get the fuel rail back, install the fuel rail back onto the engine. All right, so we've got the fuel injectors reinstalled back into the fuel rail. This plate captures the fuel injector, locks it in place. I've made sure to that the O-rings are seated well, that they're not loose or tilted off, and make sure everything's right, that it's not rolled or anything like that. So using this old vintage Snap-on CT561, I'm going to go ahead and proceed to torque these down. That's pretty much it. And now I'm going to go ahead and get this reinstalled onto the engine and get all the connectors hooked back up, and we'll start buttoning up this project. All right, so we got the engine and the fuel rail reinstalled onto the engine. I did a check on the, let me get a light here, I'll show you guys. I confirmed that the O-rings are indeed sealing like they should be. There's no leaks. Did drive the vehicle as well. But you can see there, that was the injector in question right down there. No longer leaking. Went through and checked all the other injectors that I could see here, and they are all fine. So we don't have any leaks. That's good. That's what we wanted. So happy about that. The next thing I'm going to end up doing, I need to get a new C-clamp, or new C-clamp. I need to get a new hose clamp for the top there, for the intake hose. Need to replace that one because it's not tightening. I did a battery check using my Top Don. I think it's called a T100 or something like that, or TD100, or what is it? Where is it at here? What did I do with it? Do you guys see it? Saw my, oh, here it is. BT100. Top Don BT100 scanner. So I scanned the battery, did a crank test on it. I did a battery health test, and I did a charging test. The charging and the crank were fine. The battery itself is bad. It is great when it's running in terms of, you know, having the alternator recharging the system, but yeah, other than that, it's not very good. So we need to go ahead and replace that battery. The battery is old, so we're going to do that. Not on this video here, on the next video, but we are going to check the, we are also going to replace the O2 sensors. I scanned it, and I did a little bit more checks on the engine just to see how the O2 sensors looked, and I keep getting the same codes even after I reset and wipe everything out. Just did it with this Innova 3100. I do have a new scanner coming tomorrow, at least it's supposed to be here, and we may go ahead and do a video on that one as well once I get a chance to play with it a little bit. So I'm going to replace the O2 sensors, the front and rear, and then I'm going to put a new battery in the system. So some of the things I've already done real quick. The issues we were having, we kept getting a misfire on cylinder 4. So check the wiring. The coil pack wiring was, like I said, was bad. We rewired all of that, put in new fuel injectors across all 6 cylinders because I could at the time, so it was better to do it that way. Confirmed that they are firing like they're supposed to. Well, no, we replaced 3 of the 6 cylinders with new ones, or 3 of the fuel injectors were new ones, and the rest we kept. Tested everything to make sure they were responding like they should be. Proper voltage to the fuel injectors, which was correct. Checked the fuel pressure, the fuel rail pressure. Confirmed that was hitting at 55 to 60 psi, which is what this engine should be putting out. Also did a cylinder compression set test on cylinders 3, 4, and 5, just to have a baseline, and found that those 3 cylinders were all within a couple psi of one another. And then we followed up with the balance of 1, 2, and 6, and we are hitting on all 6 cylinders. So that's a good thing. We also did a leak down test on cylinder 4 because that was the one that kept having the issues, and we are able to hold pressure. So that wasn't an issue. What else did we do? Tested the circuitry for all of the coil pack wiring and all of that, which is like I said. So all of that's good, and I'm no longer throwing a code, but I am getting, like, when the vehicle's running at idle, it's like pop, 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 pop. And it's just kind of like it's a rough idle. When I drive it and I give it gas, it seems to go away. But at the low idle, low RPM, it's still there. And so I'm going to check out the O2 sensors because that's one of the things I saw on the Volvo forums that could be a potential problem. So I don't know of a way to test those, like a bench test the O2 sensor. Probably just a regular DVOM and something like that, and just check the reading on it to see if, I don't know. But I know they get clogged and dirty from all the carbon and soot. So it would probably be cheap enough just to go ahead and buy 2 of them at $30 some for this pair, and then just go ahead and replace them out. So it's probably what we're going to end up doing. So that's all I did today on the shop with the XC90 project. So we're going to continue working on this one until we get it all corrected, and I'll try to give you guys some content on that. So if you guys have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Otherwise, please hit the subscribe button. I need to grow. I'm trying to hit that 10,000 mark by the end of this year. So help me do that, guys. If you don't have a YouTube account, consider adding one or creating one. It's really helpful for us content creators. So we really appreciate it. And I know I certainly would. All right, guys, I'll catch you in the next video. Peace. Now I got to go edit all this.